Once upon a time in a big city, there was an ordinary little girl named Lily who had lost one of her baby teeth. It had been wiggling for weeks, and when it finally fell out, she put it under her pillow and went to sleep. The next morning, she woke up early, jumped out of bed, and ran to the window. She was so excited because it was her birthday. Her parents had promised to take her to the amusement park for the day, and she just couldn't wait. But first, she needed to check under her pillow to see if the tooth fairy had come during the night. When she looked under her pillow, she saw that the tooth fairy wasn't there. And then she noticed something strange. There was a tiny ladder leaning against her bed. It was covered with glittery magic dust, and at the bottom of the ladder, she could see a pair of tiny wings. Lily knew that this must be the tooth fairy's way of getting into her room. But where could she be? Lily decided to investigate. She climbed onto her bed and looked over the side. That's when she saw the most amazing thing. Under her bed, trapped by a pile of stuffed animals, was the tooth fairy. She was trying her best to free herself from the pile of toys, but she just kept getting deeper and deeper into the mess. "Oh, my goodness," said Lily. "You're stuck!" The tooth fairy stopped struggling and looked up at Lily with her big sparkly eyes. "Oh, hello, Lily," she said. "I didn't see you there. I just need a little help to get myself out of here, and then I can leave you a present for your tooth." "Of course," said Lily. She carefully started moving the toys away from the ladder, and the tooth fairy finally got free. She brushed some glitter off her dress and smiled at Lily. "Thank you so much for helping me, Lily. As a reward, I will grant you a wish." Lily thought for a moment. "I would love to go to the amusement park today, but I want all of my friends to be able to enjoy it too." The tooth fairy smiled. "That is a very selfless wish, Lily. You and all of your friends will have the best day at the amusement park. And to make sure you have lots of fun, I am going to grant each of you a magical wish that will come true during the day." And with a wave of her magic wand, the tooth fairy disappeared in a puff of glitter. Lily jumped out of bed and ran to tell her mom about her wonderful surprise. After getting dressed, she took the bus to the amusement park where all of her friends were waiting for her. There was Sam, who loved to play video games, and Maya, who was always reading books. And then there was Leo, who had a big crush on Lily. They were all very excited when they heard about the tooth fairy's magical wishes. First, they rode the carousel, then they went on the Ferris wheel, and after that they took turns making their wishes come true. Sam wished that he could play his favorite video game on the giant screen. And as soon as his wish was made, he was transported inside the game. He raced his car through the streets, dodging traffic cones and collecting coins. When his wish ended, he found himself back at the amusement park with his friends. Next, it was Maya's turn. She wished that she could fly like a bird and soar above the amusement park. In an instant, she was floating in the air, high above the rides and games. She swooped and dived, feeling the wind beneath her wings, and then she landed softly back on the ground. Then Leo stepped forward. He wanted to impress Lily, so he asked for the courage to perform an awesome trick on the tightrope. Suddenly, he felt a surge of confidence as he walked onto the tightrope. He balanced perfectly, even when the rope started to sway. And when he reached the end, he did a backflip and landed safely on the other side. Everyone cheered, and Lily was very impressed. Now it was Lily's turn to make a wish, but she wasn't sure what to ask for. She thought about how lucky she was to have such wonderful friends, and she knew exactly what she wanted. She wished that all of them could spend the entire day at the amusement park without having to say goodbye. And as soon as she made her wish, it came true. They continued to have fun together, riding roller coasters, playing carnival games, and eating cotton candy. They laughed and screamed and made so many wonderful memories that day. As the sun began to set, they knew it was time to go home. They said their goodbyes, promising to meet again soon. When Lily got home, she went straight to her room to look under her pillow. There was a beautiful necklace with a tiny tooth charm. It was a reminder of the magical days she had spent with her friends. And as she drifted off to sleep, she couldn't help but smile. It had truly been the best birthday ever. The next day at school, Lily couldn't stop talking about her magical day at the amusement park. All of her friends were equally excited to share their own experiences. Sam talked about how cool it was to be inside the video game. Maya described the feeling of flying like a bird. And Leo couldn't stop smiling when he remembered Lily's impressed face as he performed his trick on the tightrope. But then, suddenly, Mr. Williams, their grumpy old teacher, started banging his ruler on the table. "All right, class, settle down," he said. "You're making too much noise." Lily and her friends were disappointed, but they knew better than to argue with Mr. Williams. So they all sat quietly in their desks, trying to focus on their lessons. But it was hard to concentrate with Mr. Williams droning on and on. Every time he turned his back, Lily and her friends started whispering about their magical day at the amusement park. Mr. Williams was getting more and more annoyed. "I'm sick of you kids and your silly stories," he shouted. "I bet there's no real tooth fairy, and all of your wishes are just made up." Lily couldn't believe her ears. She stood up and said, "Actually, there is a tooth fairy, and we have the necklace to prove it." She showed Mr. Williams the tiny tooth charm, and his face turned pale. "Oh my goodness," he stammered. "I didn't know. I'm sorry." Then he looked at the kids with a big smile. "Well, this is very exciting. Tell me everything about your wishes." And that's when the kids had the best idea. They told Mr. Williams that they wished he could experience one of their wishes for himself. He could choose any of them. At first, Mr. Williams was hesitant, but then he agreed. He chose Leo's wish to walk the tightrope. In an instant, he found himself on the tightrope, high above the ground. He started to panic, but then he remembered Leo's words. "It's easy," he said, remembering Leo's confident voice. "Just stay calm and keep your balance." And Mr. Williams did just that. He took a deep breath, relaxed his body, and started walking. At first, it was a bit shaky, but then he found his rhythm. He walked from one end of the tightrope to the other, feeling a sense of accomplishment as he reached the end. When the wish ended, he found himself back in the classroom, and everyone was staring at him. "Oh, my goodness," he said, his voice shaking. "That was so exciting. Thank you for sharing your wishes with me." From that day on, Mr. Williams was a different person. He was kinder, more relaxed, and much more fun. And every year on Lily's birthday, he let her and her friends skip school to go have fun at the amusement park. As for the tooth fairy, she kept returning to Lily's house every time she lost a baby tooth, and each time she brought a new and exciting present. Lily knew that the magic of believing in fairies would always be with her, reminding her to never give up on the impossible.